Hello folks, this is Aitan Ajha from InspiredRise.com and today we are going to unbox and review the Gigabyte GeForce RTX Gaming Pro OC 6GB edition. So guys, let's first start with the unboxing. Inside the box, what you get is the documentation for this card and you get the card itself. If you look at a first glance, the card does come up with a plasticky build and the back plate is of metal in order to provide further protection. But what I really liked about this card is the fact that it's really lightweight for a RTX series card, and also the fact that the pricing would be really good compared to a lot of other cards out there, compared to the previous lineup cards in the RTX series in India specifically. So the built-in design, kind of plasticky metal backplate, and you get 3 display ports, 1.4 and 1 HDMI port. There's no SLI support, and if we talk about few other basic things, the clock on this one is significantly higher than your base reference Founders Edition card. So the clock on this one is 1830 MHz, which is higher than the 1680 MHz clock of the reference card. And if I talk about the design, it comes with a WindForce 3X cooling system, which means that the middle fan has an alternate spin, which gives you better heat flow and better cooling in case of the card. Something which is not seen in dual fan design cards, something which is not seen in the reference card for this specific model. Let's get the tech specs out of the way. This card has 1920 CUDA cores, 6GB of DDR6 VRAM with 192-bit memory interface, and there's a smart LED power indicator which alerts the player when the PCI Express power supply is abnormal. And if you talk about few other things, it comes with 39 RTX OPS, and if you talk about the total power draw, it sits around the range of 160 watts or something. And if you are somebody who's gonna use this specific graphic card, I would recommend a PSU of 500 watt or above. In case to be safe, 550 watts or above, that would be a preferable choice. Now, in order to review this graphic card, we had a very nice test bench courtesy of Voltage PC in Nehru Place. Check those guys out. They are awesome. Plug is over now. Let's get back to the review. So our test bench had Core i7-7700K liquid cooled properly. We had 16 gigs of RAM. You can see all of the specs over here. The build looked really good. And then we inserted the card over there as we always do. After this, we did a lot of things. We ran a lot of synthetic benchmarks. You can see all of the scores here. It's pointless to talk about those in real detail. You can see the numbers for yourself. I will give you a brief conclusion of where the power of this graphics card lie and how good or bad it is compared to the reference design for this one. So let's break it down. If you're somebody who's into 1080p gaming and you want a graphic card which might get better in the near future, then the RTX 2060, this specific version, is good enough. So let's compare it to other graphic cards. Its performance is almost up to the range of 1070 Ti, and it gets really close to the GTX 1080 after the latest driver updates by nvidia. The latest version that we were running also adds support for a lot of other things with the RTX 2060. And let's talk about gameplay and everything. So you can see that we played Grand Theft Auto 5 on this one. The specific monitor we were using was a 1080p monitor with a 144Hz refresh panel, and it also supported G-Sync, which we had enabled. So on Grand Theft Auto 5, with everything pushed to the maximum ultra settings, we also decided to take it a notch further, went to the advanced graphics, and there enabled everything to the maximum possible limit. And also we did a frame scaling of up to 7:5 and even higher in order to test how hard can we hit this card. Even then the game was playable at around 24 to 30 FPS, but if you're somebody who's gonna push it to the ultra settings and you keep maybe the frame scaling to the normal scale, then the game is really playable up to 40 to 60 FPS. And if you are gonna disable the advanced settings and just keep the other settings at ultra, the game is really playable around 100 FPS plus. So what does that mean? What's the generalization over here? You can see that PUBG was also playable with everything pushed to the max, and the FPS was good in the 70 to 90 range. So the general output that I got was that if you are playing at 1080p medium settings, you can expect 115 to 150 FPS easily depending upon what game you are playing. If you're gonna play 1080p ultra, you can get 80 to 100 FPS on most of the modern titles. If you are playing 1440, yani 2K ultra, then you will get 58 to 77 FPS on most of the games. And these are all average numbers and depend upon the sample size that we took for the games that we played. And let's talk about 4K. If you're gonna play at 4K Ultra, it's just barely there at around 23 to 30 FPS. It's just barely there. Most of the titles are really not that much playable right now on 4K Ultra. But if you're gonna play 4K low to medium, you can expect a range of around 60 FPS. On 4K low, you can easily go up to 60 FPS. On 4K medium, it shifts around 40 to 50 frames per second. So what does this mean? This is a great 1080p gaming card. Other takeaway from this one is that it's a great 2K Ultra gaming card. 60 FPS easily possible. It's a great card for 1080p 144Hz with ultra settings. It's not really up there for 4K ultra gaming. For entry level 4K gaming, it's okay, but I guess nobody invests in a 4K monitor as much as they invest in a 2K 144 monitor, or maybe 1080p 144Hz refresh rate monitor, because that higher frequency matters when gaming. Other things that I found out from my time with this card is the fact that overclocking up to a range of 2000 megahertz is easily possible without breaking a sweat because of the WindForce design. You can even push it really further if you're feeling lucky, and you can also overclock the VRAM present on this one. You can add easily around 750 to 850 megahertz more of frequency clock to the VRAM by overclocking it, and specifically because of the WindForce design, the thermal hit is not that much. Talking about my personal experience, we were playing in an ambient temperature of New Delhi winters, which was around 14 degrees Celsius, and we were playing the games for a really long duration of time. And what we found out was the fact that in that ambient temperature setting on this card, the maximum temperature that we could hit was 50 degrees Celsius. This does not mean that this card is free of all errors, or maybe there would be no heating issues, but for most of the part, I believe that this card would run really cool. Don't expect it to break above 70 degrees for most of the titles. Only on really heavy extended workloads, I believe that this card would go above 60 or 70. Now let's talk about ray tracing. This is one of the cheapest cards that you can get for ray tracing, and at $349 for the Founders Edition, which is not the same price in India. In India, this card retails for a price of 31,000 rupees, the Founders Edition. And this specific Gigabyte version is at around 35,000 rupees to 33,000 rupees, depending upon where you buy from. The prices vary at offline stores. So I still believe that it's a better choice than your Founders Edition card. And if you're somebody who's gonna invest for RTX or ray tracing, the RTX performance is not there yet. Even with DLSS, which is your deep learning, which is not yet available for a lot of games. It's only available for Final Fantasy 15 as of now, and the performance is not really up there. But as future games come with more RTX and DLSS support at the same time, you can expect easily like 1080p 60 FPS with RTX on and with your DLSS on, and easily you would be able to do that most probably in the upcoming future when more and more games get support for these, and when nvidia also optimizes the drivers for more performance. Now if you are going to look at a value proposition, the RX 570 and 580 still offer quite good power when compared to the price, and the price to performance ratio is still better on those cards. But if you're somebody who's gonna invest in the future and you're looking at a GPU which is from the team green, and if you are looking for a GPU which is maybe sort of future proof for all of the games which are going to be optimized for RTX, for DLSS, then most probably this is the right choice, because it's seriously not that much overpriced. The pricing could still have been a little bit better, because when you compare $349, that's around 25k INR, and the Indian price for the Founders Edition itself is just around like 31,000 INR. So that's straight away almost 6,000 rupees more. And if you talk about this specific version, the prices are definitely higher than the reference card, but that is justified to a lot of extent because of the design and few other things. And it also comes with RGB fusion support, so you can customize the lighting and everything, and that's an eye candy sort of thing if you are really into all LED, all RGB setups. The added bonus here is that you get the card with a copy of Battlefield 5. You need the original invoice and you need the original receipt for your purchase of the card in order to redeem your copy of Battlefield 5. And what I personally think is that the 6 GB of GDDR6 memory on this one is good for your most of the games, and it severely increases the performance in few of the modern titles. But if you're somebody who's gonna be doing a lot of real-time ray tracing in the near future, I guess maybe there would be an 8 GB version in the near future maybe, and that sort of VRAM actually helps in all of those computational applications. But still, for the mid-range gamers, I feel that this is still quite a good proposition to invest their money on. To conclude everything, I think that the card is good, the performance is good. This specific Gigabyte variant does come up with a lot of features. This video is not at all sponsored at all because we had a full creative liberty while shooting and editing this video. So I personally feel that this is a good card, and there are other offerings in this specific range by MSI, Asus and a lot of other people. You might want to compare all of these for their cooling options, for their total power draw options, for the out-of-the-box factory overclocking that these guys provide. I guess you have to compare all of those options before zeroing in on which RTX 2060 card you really want to buy. And I personally feel that the pricing and availability would be a huge factor in determining whether you would go for something like this or the RX 570 or 580. But personally, I feel that with this card, Team Green has done a good job, and Gigabyte also has done a good job in adding their custom spin to the whole package and not really overpricing it. So guys, this was it for this review. In case you like this video, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. Do subscribe to Inspire to Rise. There's a red button over down there. Do hit the thumbs up, and there's a bell icon over there. Just don't forget to smash it. And guys, no matter what you do, stay inspired to rise.